Welcome to another episode of Bula Wellness on FBC TV. I trust you have been enjoying the program so far, that you have learnt a few things that has hopefully changed your mindset and those of your family and friends. Greetings to all our viewers from across our beautiful country. Last week, we talked about the importance of diet and the role it plays in wellness. This week's topic is closely linked to that, or they work simultaneously with each other. Today, we are talking about the role of physical activity in wellness. World Health Organization defines physical activity as any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that require energy expenditure, including activities undertaken whilst working, playing, carrying out household chores, traveling, and engaging in recreational pursuits. Exercise is a subcategory of physical activity that is planned, structured, repetitive, and aims to improve or maintain one or more components of physical fitness. Both moderate and vigorous intensity physical activities bring health benefits. Insufficient physical activity is one of the 10 leading risk factors for death worldwide. Insufficient physical activity is a key risk factor for non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, and diabetes. Physical activity has significant health benefits and contributes to prevent NCDs. Globally, 1 in 4 adults is not active enough. More than 80% of the world's adolescent population remain insufficiently physically active. World Health Organization recommends that we all should be active depending on our individuality. Younger persons should be much more active. We should also have a structured exercise program that we need to do most days of the week. Before beginning any exercise program, a medical worker should be consulted. Surely, we all need to get moving for our health. In Fiji, we note that structured group activities to raise our physical activity took a major direction change with our Ministry of Health leading by example in 2009. Regular walks were conducted in most urban areas, and we saw public-private partnerships models developing with corporate organizations, like our 3 very active banks, providing assistance in the conduct of regular walks in several urban areas. Westpac Banking Corporation was the leader and was followed by the Bank of the South Pacific. Bank of Baroda was also trendy with walks and medical screening within their corporate setup and later at large public festivals and gatherings. The Fiji National University, College of Medicine, Nursing and Allied Health partnered with the Health Ministry in its support and gave its students incentives to practice what they were learning as a feedback into the community. The bandwagon was rocking and rolling along, with University of South Pacific and the Sangam Nursing School coming out on board with opportunist public health screening. With such vigor, the concept of mobile screening was delivered within the Ministry of Health. 2 NCD buses were procured with support from the FNU, Sangam Organization and Rotary International, both in the central and northern divisions. Outdoor all-weather exercise stations were established with the assistance of Nestle Limited as part of its corporate social responsibility in Suva, Singatoka, Nandi, Lotoka and Lambasa. With support from private organizations like J. Hunter Pearls, Savu Savu added a scenic walkway with sizable contribution from the health budget allocation, aiming to promote group regular structured physical activities. Plans to develop outdoor all-weather facilities for physical activities in Ba, Tavua, Reiki and Nosori have not materialized due to various but most unreasonable decisions. Physical activities complement wholesome eating. feeding patterns to keep non-communicable diseases under control. The fine balance between the two components is still not working adequately. And we continue to see increasing tragedies that non-communicable diseases are having on our people even today. We are honored and privileged to have Kathy Wong from Suva Physio Center with us today to discuss this crucial topic, physical activity and its role on health and wellness. Welcome, Kathy. Just to start things off, please explain this concept of physical activity in regards to health.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. In a nutshell, physical activity simply means the body's ability to move. It's moving any part of the body, and this utilizes energy. And for physical activity, anyone can do physical activity. So it's not about going to a gym. The concept is moving your body part. That's a basic role of physical activity.
Thank you, Kathy, for that clarification. Very interesting indeed. We'll dig a bit deeper after this short break. Don't go away. More coming up right after this. Earlier, we have started our discussion with Mrs. Kathy Wong about physical activity and the important role it plays in health and wellness. We have repeatedly heard that we need to be more active. What are the recommendations really?
The recommendations, the WHO recommendations is they've categorized it into different sections. The first section is from 5 years to 17 years. And the recommendation for 5 to 17 years is 60 minutes. That's 1 hour of physical activity, moderate physical activity every day. Now that is only to get healthy. But if you want a fitness component to it, anything beyond that will give you fitness component. So anyone from the age of 5 to 17 years, it's 1 hour of moderate physical activity every day. And for the other group, the 18 years to the 64 years, they recommend, the WHO recommendation is 1 hour of moderate activity, at least minimum of 4 times a week. I'm sure you may have seen the 5:30 advertising that was done. The 5:30 simply means 5 days a week of 30 minutes of moderate physical activity 5 days a week. And that's a recommendation from 18 to 64 years. Again, these are for health benefits. If you want to get fitness benefits, then you can do it more than that.
Thank you. What should we be doing before starting an exercise program?
Before starting an exercise program, if you have never started an exercise program and if you're over 40 years old, we recommend that you see your health practitioner to get a medical clearance first. But if you are much younger, you don't necessarily have to see a medical practitioner, but it's a good thing to start with your medical practitioner or the nearest health center that you have around you. Once you've done that and they've given you the clear to start an exercise program, anyone can start an exercise program. And in a nutshell, you don't need to have anything fancy, no gyms, no exercise equipment. In a nutshell, what you need to start an exercise program is space and the willpower to go out and do the exercise program. You may lack the knowledge of what type of exercise to do, and this knowledge can come to you in the form of your medical practitioner or your nearest physio who's at the nearest health center.
Okay. It's good to see that we're advocating physical activity and additional exercise to become toned up and lose weight, and that special equipment is really not required. But in urban centers where facilities are available, what would you like to say to that?
In the urban centers where you have facilities, you have walkways and things. So the basic concept is for light activity, there's light physical activity, there's moderate physical activity, and there's vigorous physical activity. So for light physical activity, you can do things like light walking, okay? You can do things like gardening, you can do things like wiping the windows, washing the cars. These are light physical activities. For moderate physical activity, where you have access to facilities, when you go to a structured room where they have physical activity, basically any exercise in any form is movement. If you are fortunate enough where you have access to a physical trainer who can take you through a program, great. But you really don't need a physical trainer. With physical activity, anyone can do physical activity. That's abled and disabled alike. Even with people who are disabled, you can do your physical activity sitting in a wheelchair. You can, for those with the senior citizens, you can do your physical activity actually sitting in a chair, as long as you are moving your body part. The main thing is you've got to move your joints and your muscles to acquire this the benefit of health benefits. So yes, you have. You notice in the centers now they have what we call the parks. So these parks are now built with stations, these exercise stations. So these are exercise stations that will help you in terms of doing your physical activity. And if you find that the health stations are not what you require, simply walking is adequate enough to get you going. What we recommend is we do what we call the walk-talk test. The question that we ask is, how do we know if we are exercising enough? Okay, what's the difference between light to moderate to vigorous? It's different for different people. So we tell people you do the walk-talk test. The walk-talk test simply means if you are exercising or doing a physical activity and you can sing a song, it means you are not exercising or moving enough. If you are doing your exercise and physical activity and you're struggling to get your words together, that is moderate physical activity. If you are doing your physical activity and you cannot have a conversation, that is vigorous physical activity. So in actual fact, when you're doing your exercises, you should not be having a conversation. That's how you know you're at the right pitch.
Thank you. I think that's very, very practical sort of advice for people, because just a stroll in the park is not good enough.
Yes, when we started this program, and as you said, in 2009, it was Walk for Health, and 3 years ago we moved it up where it said brisk it or risk it. And it takes time for people to start, but when you start slow and start gradual. When you start any physical activity, people aim to achieve everything in one day. That's not possible. It's consistency and maintaining the routine or the exercise that you do regularly. That's very, very important. So yes, start slow and build it up gradually over time. If you're doing a physical activity, it will take you 4 to 6 weeks for your body to adjust to a program. So if you're starting a physical activity, don't change in 2 weeks. You wait for about a month before you decide, okay, I will try something different. You do that for a month, then you move on to something. So give your body time to adapt and adopt the changes before you move on.
Thank you. Now, besides exercise, you've mentioned other activities like gardening and cleaning windows. This is a question which we always get from our lady patients that, well, I'm doing housework. Mm-hmm. Is that not exercise?
Doing housework is physical activity, but it's not enough to get health benefits. So we always advise them, if you're ironing, you stand up and iron, put the music on, and sway your hips and sway your arm to the rhythm of the music, or watch the television. If you're folding the clothes, don't sit down on the settee and fold the clothes. Stand up, and as you're folding the clothes, you use your arm movements to fold the sheets, fold the t-shirts, fold the clothes. If you're gardening, if you're raking the grass, don't do a gentle stroll. Really vigorously rake the grass up. If you're cutting grass, so it's not a nice gentle cut, you actually do vigorous activity. Again, we go back to our basic concept. If you cannot have a conversation while you're doing this activity, you are working at the right pitch. But if you can have a full conversation while you're doing this thing, you're actually just moving your body part, but you're not getting the health benefits.
Okay. Now, for our older patients, before we move on to the seniors, what sort of exercise do you advocate? Because I see we've talked about walking, and that is quite good, because it doesn't mean no equipment, a good pair of walking shoes, and you out there exercising. So,
for the senior people, it's very important that they focus on two things. The key area is balance and strength. As we get older, we lose balance. That's a natural part of aging, and we also lose muscle strength. So as you become a little bit more senior in your years, with your exercise program, and you focus a little bit more on strength. And a strength component, a simple thing is like, if you have a step, walking up and down your steps slowly. Okay, squatting slowly. These are strength things. Lifting your water bottle up to the ceiling slowly. To build up strength, you need to move slower. Slow movements build up strength. And as we get older, we tend to have issues with balance. So we recommend that you can do exercises in sitting. So sitting on a chair and doing your leg exercises and doing your arm exercises. And again, you can use water bottles. You can carry your tin of sardines or your tin of tuna. You use that, but you move very, very slow to build up strength. If you have issues with your knees, a lot of people tend to have issues with their knees, we recommend do the exercises or the activity in the sitting position. If you have high blood pressure or you have diabetes, certain exercises we don't do, and that's the one where you don't get your head below your knee level. So don't do touch the floor type of exercises. Those things. Again, this should have been screened before when you saw your medical practitioner, before coming in. So with the senior citizens or with the older people, recommendation is focus on strength and focus on balance. And balance, a simple balancing is standing on one leg and see how long you can hold it for 20 seconds. Then you do the other leg, how long you can hold it for another 20 seconds. Then you add on the eyes closed, and then you move it on from there. So again, for the seniors, balance and strength.
Thank you. What about disabled individuals? There's questions out in the community. How should we exercise?
Exactly the same as any normal human being would do. You may modify, you may vary the type of exercises that you do because you don't have the leg capacity or you don't have the arm capacity, but there should be no limitations to what a disabled person should be able to do. So when you're prescribing an exercises, a program for them, you prescribe them exactly the same, but get modifications within the limited disability. The reason why we say that is disability does not mean that you cannot do it. Disability means you're just not able to do a particular movement, but the rest of the body is perfectly fine. For those of you sitting in a wheelchair, you can use your arms. For those of you who have leg issues, you can use your upper arms, and those of you who have arm issues, you can use the legs. So should we separate disabled from able? No.
Okay. Do you have any final message for our listeners? Just a short brief.
Just taking on from what you said, for Fiji, physical activity has now been, as you said, been identified as one of our major key risk areas for NCD. We've got the smoking, the nutrition, the physical inactivity, and the alcohol. In the surveys that we've been doing, it has consistently shown that our people are becoming less active from when they leave school. From 13 to 34 years is where we see our maximum obesity gain. My message to the people out there is we are very, very active in school, but that activity drops when we leave school. So I would like to see you continue being as physically active as you possibly can when you leave school and move on. As the data does not lie. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this brief and very informative session. Thank you for your time and for joining us on the show today. More coming up right after this. Welcome back to Bula Wellness on FBC TV. Today we are talking about physical activity and its role on health and wellness. Earlier, we had Kathy Wong from the Suva Physio Center discussing the importance of physical activity in our society today. From that discussion, I managed to pick out some very important points. Promoting physical activity as a foundation of wellness is a major cornerstone to arrest and reverse NCD in Fiji. We need to choose to have an active lifestyle if we want to remain healthy and wealthy. We need a regular structured exercise program as part of our physical wellness. Our guest tonight has clearly spelt out the need for physical activities in our lives. We would not be facing all the non-communicable diseases if we were active. The onset of diabetes, heart diseases prematurely if we are not physically active. She has stated very categorically that exercise is important to all concerned: children, able-bodied, disabled, and elderly, and those over 65. The seeds of ill health are laid in the womb, crib, preschool age, and later in adolescence. She has also stated the need for each group. Children need 60 minutes of daily activity at least. That is not hard to achieve if we encourage at least 30 minutes after school, as lunchtime activities and after-school sports are implemented. Just too many kids are glued to the TV and games after school in the home environment. Likewise, adults need 30 minutes of moderate intensity physical activities daily, in the garden or just plain brisk walking. Interestingly, the pace of walking was of great note. The walk must be brisk and not at the level where one is able to sing but barely able to speak 3 or 4 words in a sentence. Senior citizens need moderate intensity walks and exercises to build wasting muscle strength and improve their sense of balance for 30 minutes too. This is important for your balance and muscle strength. Disabled or the physically challenged need to tailor their body fitness, and this can be identified individually by their physiotherapists. The proviso was that all who have not exercised must be medically examined before starting. That exercise must be continued for 4 to 6 weeks to see the changes in building physical stamina. To those of you wanting to reshape and build muscles, a full hour of exercise is warranted, and the same duration of time, 4 to 6 weeks, applies. Some individuals are busy and some need motivation and find the home gym or other community-based gym as an alternative option. The brisk walks do not require investment in equipment, but a good pair of shoes are recommended to prevent lower limb injuries. Apart from exercise, diet is also very important, as discussed in this previous episode. Diet, a foundation of wellness. Looking back to 2016, under the leadership and guidance of Bren Ryan, our 7 heroes at the Rio Games were prepared holistically. Today, our players have demonstrated to the people of Fiji that you do not need to load up with carbohydrates to be world-class champions. Some of the meal planning which went into rebranding our players was to drastically cut on their cassava and dalo consumption. Such items are loaded with carbohydrates and must be reduced if we want to be winners in life. We can all be like our rugby sevens players if we exercise regularly and eat sensibly. if we only teach and train our children to emulate stricter diet plans with more vegetables, fruit, grain, and surely reducing the plate sizes we are served food in. Home-cooked meals with less quantities of sauces and salt restriction will surely carry all of us into our golden years. The seeds of non-communicable disease are laid in the womb, in the crib, in infancy and childhood, with the current diet and inactive lifestyles we all want to live. Unfortunately, I am seeing just too many young people dying in their 30s with NCDs. Too many suffering diabetes, cancer, mental illness, because we are not taking all the good advice around. Childhood obesity is a major issue in urban areas of Fiji. We adults need to take responsibility for this. We are acting like gluttons when we see food. Sorry to say this. Let me remind you that there will be a meal tomorrow, surely. We can seize this golden opportunity in time to develop some of our sporting stars as brand ambassadors for non-communicable diseases prevention in our younger generation. Specifically, eating healthy and exercising regularly will be their only mantra. This has been a wish of several senior members of the Healthy Fiji or the health sector community for several years. But the opportunity is now ripe after Fiji's success in Rio. Engaging sports organizations, the umbrella organization FASANOX and ONOC will be ideal with corporate social responsibility from the corporate world to make the effort to arrest NCD a sustainable one. You can always ask your health officials at your local health center to answer some of the questions you may have. Unfortunately, time has caught up with us again, and that brings us to the end of this episode of Bula Wellness. We hope you have enjoyed the program, learnt a few things that could change and even save your life and those of whom you love. If you have queries about the show or the topic today, you can contact us on Facebook, Bula Wellness FBC TV, or write to us at bulawellness@fbc.com.fj. Make sure to join us again the same time next week for our next episode. Until then, good night.